I'm Rhea.
I'm Juan Pablo.
And I'm Gabby.
And we're
Teens Tutor Teens.
Hey guys, welcome back to Teens Tutor Teens. And I'm Gabby, and we're going to start off by starting with this lesson, systems of equations with two variables. So remember before, we used to have, like the simple ones, I guess, with 2x, equals 1. And we would just solve for this x. And when we divided both sides, just to isolate the variable, x would equal 1/2. And sometimes to check, we would actually take this same equation, plug back in this same x, and in turn get 2 over 1/2 equals 1, which verified that our response was right. However, how would you feel if, this time around, we're given not only an x, we're also given a y. A y, or it can be a z, or, how we've seen previously in our lessons, a bob. Well, let's tune in and let's see if what we're seeing, I guess, in these equations, if we can actually solve some of them. So the first example, I'm actually going to write in the form that I would be easiest to look in these equations at. So y equals 2x plus 4, and y equals 3x plus 2. Now usually you probably would have seen this equation as something as of y minus, actually even as this, like even negative 2x plus y equals 4, and negative 3x plus y equals 2. But these two things are the same. Why? I just changed the place of the x, theoretically. So that's the theoretical, what they're showing you there. You can actually just minus 2x on both sides, and this is what you would normally see at school. So normally they're always been like this. But we're going to just rewrite this right down here. But in fact, I actually kind of want to solve it in the terms of this equation to make it easier, and to show you how it usually evolved and how it started. So to do this, I'm actually going to I want to isolate one variable. Remember, we want to isolate. We want to get one thing on one side. So I think the easiest thing to do from this is to isolate y and solve for x. Now, how do we do that? When rewriting this equation again, y equals 3x plus 2. You want to isolate y, which we did. We want to solve for x. So by subtracting both the bottom and the top from each other, we are left with 0 equals negative x plus 2. Negative 2x equals negative 2. Negative 2 equals negative x, therefore x equals 2. So now we have x equals 2. We actually want to use one equation, so one equation, because like we talked about before, remember this example, 2x equals 1. Once we know what one equation is used for, I guess, since one variable, two equations need two variables. I'm going to go in more about this list and how it works. But in this sense, we just need one equation. So y equals 2 times 2 plus 4. I'm just going to use this equation right here if I didn't tell you. Y equals 8. So the answer is 2, 8 from this coordinate thing system. Now, so you're probably asking me now, what happened and how did you do that? Number one, when you're ever solving equations, you want to isolate for one and solve the other. So for one of the variables right here. So maybe if an example is you may have like x plus y equals 3, and then x minus y equals 5. You can either solve. So when I'm saying you want to isolate and you want to solve for something, you want to either try to isolate. I would actually recommend isolating y and solving for x. The reason why I want to do that is because if we're seeing on this side, y, positive y minus y would cancel out. And then you would isolate you would solve for the x. That means you would get 2x. This cancels out to be 0 equals 8. Because we're taking x plus x. Y minus y, 3 plus 5, with x equaling 4. And once you find this equation, you want to use, the second thing you want to use is you want to use one equation for the other. So let's just say we're going to use this one right here, okay? X plus y equals 3. You would take this x you found here, solve it in for that x, so 4 plus y equals 3, y equals -1. Therefore, your solution is 4, -1. Now, in case you guys don't know I'm writing this, I'm actually writing it like this, x, y, like a coordinate system. So here are two things you need to know. Isolate for one and solve for the other, and use one equation for the other. I would definitely write this down. This is some good stuff. Now we're getting an equation how you'd probably normally solve it at school. So, well, let's say 2x minus 2y equals 8. And x plus y equals 1. Okay, remember, we have to isolate for one and solve for one. So I think, remember, an isolate was isolate, and the green is for the solving. I'm going to isolate for y, and I want to solve for x. That means we need to, when we mean isolate, we want to eliminate this variable. We want this to be exterminated. So x, we don't want. So no variable. No variable. We do not want that there. We want an x. We want to eliminate it. We don't want that there. So therefore, if we don't want y anymore, what we're going to do is we're going to do 2x minus 2y equals 8. And we're going to do 2x. We're going to multiply everything here by 2. So multiply this by 2, multiply this by 2, multiply this by 2. We're just raising everything to a factor of 2, which you can do when solving a system of equations. And the reason why you can do this is because if you do x plus y equals 1, it is the same thing as saying 2x plus 2y equals 2. X will be the same as y, x will be the same as x, y will be the same as y, and therefore it doesn't matter if you were to double, triple, you can even multiply x by 1,000, and x will still be the same as long as y is multiplied by 1,000, and so is this solution of 1,000. Remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other to make sure that it stays constant. You don't want the equation and the numbers to change. So now let's just add this entire thing. And we're going to get 4x equals 10. So when we're solving, Now we have to solve for x. X is going to equal 10 over 4 or 5/2. Now we're going to take this x, and I actually genuinely would rather plug it into this equation. I think I have an easier time. So I'm going to rewrite this equation because it's a little bit messy. So originally we had 2x y equals 1. You can plug it into this equation, but I find this equation easier, even though it will be the same answer if you plug this 5/2 into that x. But since it's just x plus y equals 1, I think I'll have a better chance of success of getting the answer right if I plug this 5/2 into the equation that is non-multiplied by 2. Makes it a lot easier. So 5/2 plus y equals 1. Y equals 1 minus 5/2. Y equals -3/2. Therefore, I'm going to put this in blue because blue is actually kind of cool right now. Therefore, 5/2 -3/2 is our solution. Thank you so much for this lesson, coming out to this lesson of Teens Tutor Teens today to learn how to solve system equations with 2 variables. Now, I have some extra practice questions I'm going to post probably in the discussion. You guys can check that out in the description below. And you have to actually hit me up. You have to hit me up at the business email to get access to all these things and the study guides. Study guides. Or possibly opening avenues of tutoring if you guys need it as well. Thank you so much and have a great day.